Right, first and foremost, we want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory be unto Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors be unto the apostles, and it is a great millstone. To all the Arkhams worldwide, I want to say Shalom be unto you. This is the word from each year at camp. Just bring out a quick edification through the spirit and the power of the Most High, Bashem Yahushai. My edification is entitled, Let's Fight the Flesh. So the battle ever so often is between flesh and spirit, spirit and flesh. Spirit void against the flesh void against the spirit. So let's get into it. Galatians chapter 2, verse 20. Actually, I started verse 18. For if I build again the things which I destroy, I make myself a transgressor. For I through the law am dead to the law, that I might live unto power. I am crucified with Mashiach, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Mashiach liveth in me. And the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith of the Son of Power, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not frustrate the grace of power, for this righteousness come by the law. Then Mashiach is dead in vain. So, we know that the flesh, even when we understand when Yahushua died, when we come in the truth, we became a new man. But then we still have all the infirmities and the faults to deal with within this sinful, wicked body. And that's one of the reasons you want to constantly be in scriptures, you want to constantly be in learning, you want to constantly be in prayer, you want to constantly be fasting, you want to constantly be pushing yourself more than you usually do, because the test and the game just keeps getting harder and harder and harder when it comes to the battle of the flesh and the spirit. So Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16, it says, This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary one to another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. Because some of the things that you want to do that you don't do. And the things you don't want to do, that's what you do. So that's why it's always important to build and keep that spiritual man as high in terms of vibration as possible. Hey, overall, let no man take your crown as well. Verse 24, it says, And they that are Mashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. So vainglory goes no way. But being true to yourself, being true to the Most High, follow the Lord's statutes and commandments, pray, fast. These are some ways that we can overcome the flesh and be more spiritual overall. Galatians chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, verse 6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against power. For it is not subject to the law of power, neither indeed can be. So carnally minded is just satisfying the flesh. Spiritually minded is satisfying the Lord Yahweh Shemeshai. But still we need that balance, you know. Verse 8, so that they in flesh cannot please power, they that are in flesh. But ye are not in flesh, but in the Spirit. If so be that the Spirit of power dwell in you. Now if any man had not the Spirit of Mashiach, he is not of his. And if Mashiach be in you, the body is dead of sin, but the Spirit of life because of righteousness. So, hey, Yahushua came and find a battle. Yahushua came and endure. We as well as good soldiers, we ought to know how to endure the battles that we're constantly going through and fighting, you know. Romans chapter 12 and verse 2, start at 1. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of power, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto power, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of power. So it all had to start in the lahab, all had to start in the mind. So you start by renewing the mind, you know. Romans chapter 8 and verse 13, for if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. And so kill the flesh. Well, it's a balance as well, because we can't be super holy. It's a balance. You have to know to balance this thing in the truth. 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 27. See, I start off with 26. I therefore so run, not as certainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself be a castaway. So you have to bring your body into subjection. You have to bring your mind into subjection so that you won't go off. The last thing you want to do is to be a hypocrite in this truth. So we preaching one thing and you're doing totally contrary one to the other. You know? So that's a quick precept on let's fight the flesh. I hope this was edifying to you. You know, with that I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory be unto Yahweh Shemeshai, Machamaka Kodash. Double honors be unto your apostle and your great milestone. Stay strong, Akim Shalom.